So we just did a little mini workshop there with Chris. What did everyone make of the session? How did you all enjoy it?
It was quite interesting. I think I came into it open-minded, but there were still things that we didn't know and we've learnt, and it's a bit nerve-wracking because in this climate and everything's changing, we need to catch up on things.
I think, like you said, it was very educational for all of us. Regardless, everyone could learn at something, and especially going forward, there's things to learn more and more as time progresses. It's ever changing.
Yeah, I definitely sort of looked at diversity and inclusion and sort of always thought that surely it's common sense and decency between people to a certain extent. And again, I hadn't really given it much thought as to how to be proactive and actually embrace those ideas. So yeah, it was nice to actually get a bit deeper into sort of a bit more about what it actually is and what it actually means.
I thought it was great, and I think we need to have these conversations more often, and it needs to be normalised. We talked about empathy, which is so important, being in someone else's shoes, and we talked about celebrating difference, which is so important in all walks of life, but yeah, in racing I think we can do that much better, is really celebrate difference.
Georgia, how did you find the session?
Yeah, good. I think we've brought up some really good points there, and obviously we're all different ages here and different, in our career at different points, and I just think, even the opinions between us have been really interesting. I think it's very important to sort of promote that, anyone can try and get into racing if they wanted to.
And Chris, why should the jockeys go further?
Because I think jockeys, more than anybody, are the people that are looked up to. They are they are the role models, they're the people who are in the public eye. So particularly junior jockeys will look at what their role models, people they've looked up to for many, many years, are doing, what they're saying, what they're not saying, and they'll follow their example.
Are there things that we can do to not look like we're just being generic, trying to show our support without genuinely supporting? Because most of us here are very welcoming people, so how do we look like we're not just tick boxing and actually engaging with it?
If, for example, you have a social media presence, then think about how you talk about difference and diversity all throughout the year, and not just thinking, well, I need to talk about the LGBT community because it's February, I need to talk about ethnicity and race because it's Black History Month. So if you do have a public profile, think about how you use that throughout the year to celebrate diversity, to repeatedly talk about the fact that we want to be an industry that's for everybody, because it's only when you say that time and time again that people start to realise that whoever I am and wherever I come from and whatever my identity is, I can take part.
I got introduced to a young lad, a black lad, basically in the middle of Swindon, and we got to know each other. I used to take him racing with me, and when you take a young black kid from the middle of Swindon to maybe a racecourse, there are certain looks and certain comments which probably weren't acceptable.
Well, that's good that you did it, but it's sad that...
Yeah, it is sad.
It's just like he stood out as different.
Yes.
Do you think it's because of that?
Yeah, definitely. Very, very few comments and very few looks that he had. Most people in racing are very accepting, and he ended up going to the racing school. It is so equal,
It's inclusive.
Yeah, for me, that's what education needs to be, and anyone from any background can go to the racing school, learn to ride a horse, and hopefully get a job in racing, which is something that we really should celebrate.
But he very easily, having those comments at a young age, going around with you, could have put him off the sport for sort of life.
Yeah.
He carried on.
Yeah, you're right, and that is where we've got to make progress.
So if we want to build on the inclusion, we've got to make sure we've removed all the barriers for participation, Chris.
Yeah, people are nervous about difference, and we need to make it clear that difference is, like I said before, not just something that is interesting, but it's something we really value because it brings huge benefits to the entire industry and everything that it does.
And for everyone to feel included, we've seen a few things happen in horse racing, like Jack Dern, who was really brave in coming out, and he's got allies within the weighing room. We've spoken to people like Josephine Gordon, who rides on the flat, and she's a good friend of his and she's been fully supportive. So do we need to keep building on our allies?
Absolutely, yeah, and it's fantastic but sad at the same time that we have to say that he was brave for feeling that he could come out openly within the industry, because nobody should have to feel brave to just talk about who they are, what their identity is and who they love. Somebody is always going to have to be the first person to talk about their diversity, their uniqueness within the industry, but hopefully it just encourages everybody else to feel, well, if you can take part and you look like me or sound like me or have the same identity as me, then I can take part too.
Yeah, sure.
The thing is, it's like, if look at Jack, I mean, I've ridden with him for years. When you say he'd come out, I didn't know he'd come out. We always knew he was gay.
Yeah.
He made no difference to us.
Yeah.
He's just another jockey. He's brave for riding some of the horses you ride, for some of the trainers you ride for.
Yeah.
But some people might say, well, why is it our job? So, you know, get what you're saying. Maybe we should try harder on social platforms and things.
Well, Paige was asking, you know, what more can we do? What you just said right there about, you know, when Jack came out, well, we always knew and we've always been absolutely fine with him. Saying things like that are really, really powerful. That might not mean much to you, but for a young gay person who wants to get into the industry, to hear you saying that will make the world of difference to them. So keep on saying the things that you're saying, because whether you realise it or not, you are role models.